Welcome to this short video. Our aim with this is to help you to understand how important the behavioural and emotional side of coaching is, the huge impact it can have on your effectiveness as a deliverer and the experience that your participants have. So what is emotional intelligence in simple terms? The ability to understand and control your emotions and the emotions of those around you and manage your relationships accordingly. So why is emotional intelligence so important? Because emotions drive thoughts, thoughts drive behaviour, and behaviour drives performance in your role and in the outcomes you are trying to achieve for your participants. What goes on under the surface has a huge impact on what you see. So what emotions are we talking about? And how can we go about getting better in this area? Let's have a look at this scenario. You're running a back to netball session. You have run a few already and are growing in confidence, even though you were quite nervous when you first started. A new lady, Angie, turns up to your evening session. In her early 30s, Angie loudly tells everyone that she used to be a county player, is expecting this session to be a bit boring and beneath her, and has only come to keep her friend company. As she carries on in this vein, the rest of the group start to look a bit deflated, and quite a few of them move away from her. Let's unpick this a bit and see what might be going on under the surface. Starting with you. This might make you feel a bit intimidated. How will you make sure the session is up to scratch? Might Angie know more than you? Might she show you up in public? This could well be the case if you have low levels of self-esteem. On the other hand, you might feel a bit annoyed with this lady. If so, how might your levels of assertiveness and impulse control be relevant? If you are relatively assertive, able to be frank and forthright, and have low levels of impulse control, you might blurt something out to her that wouldn't have a positive impact on the session as a whole. What about your levels of empathy? Would you feel anything for her or not? Moving on to Angie, it might be that she has very high levels of emotion expression. This is the extent to which you're fluent at communicating your emotions to others. She might also have high levels of assertiveness. Conversely, Angie may have low levels of social awareness, the ability to pick up on atmosphere in a room and social skills, and she might find it difficult to start and build relationships with others. It could even be that she actually has low self-esteem and is covering this up. What about the group as a whole? How are they reacting and picking up on Angie's behaviour? And how good are your levels of emotion perception and social awareness to be able to pick up on their responses? The way you deal with this will have an impact on the group and the session as a whole. So what can help? Focusing first on what you can do if this kind of situation makes you feel less confident. How can you try and ensure that you bring a more positive mindset to your sessions? Copying your role models. One way to increase confidence is to ask yourself two questions. How would my ideal role model act and think in this situation? Think about a colleague or a boss or a mentor that you admire and think, how would they react? Secondly, how should I react and think if I want to be a role model? Or you could try the power pose. Body language is infectious, and even just by changing your stance, standing with your feet slightly apart, your head up and shoulders back, you can help yourself to feel more confident. Finally, you could try the rubber band technique. This works as follows. When a negative thought comes into your head, note it and mentally raise a red card at it. Banish it to the sidelines of your mind. You can make this more impactful by wearing a rubber band on your wrist. Every time a negative thought comes into your head, lift the rubber band and let it flick back. The little sting will slowly condition you to associate negative thoughts with bad outcomes. What about if the situation has made you feel annoyed? How can you make sure that you don't act in an inappropriate way? One great method for keeping calm and resisting impulses is to have a resource anchor. This is something which acts as a reminder to calm down. It might be a particular piece of music or a mantra that you repeat to yourself, that through constant association and practice serves to automatically calm you down. What about in terms of direct action? Well, you could make use of Angie's experience. Ask her to help you. That way she feels special, you get the benefit of her expertise, and the rest of the group doesn't need to feel intimidated. It's also worth thinking about reinforcing the aims and outcomes of the session, reminding the group that it's not about ability or who is better, but about getting back into the sport and having a go, whatever your level. And after the session, reflect on the situation. What did you do well, and what could you have done better? So, to recap, think about what's going on below the surface. Remember that emotions drive thoughts, thoughts drive behaviour, and behaviour drives performance in your role and in the outcomes you're trying to achieve for your participants. When you consider the emotions side of things, remember to think about you, others as individuals, and the group as a whole. How you react to and deal with things will have a huge impact on the success of the session. Remember, in the kind of scenario described, you can help get the right mindset by using tools such as the rubber band technique, copying your role models, the power pose, and the resource anchor. You can also take direct action, such as using a participant like Angie to help you run your session, and always reinforce what the aims and outcomes of the session are. After each session, ask yourself, what did I do well and what could I have done better? And ideally, write this down.